He has a huge experience in coaching area, and also not just but in business area also. Then I want to invite Mikhail to talk a little bit about flying. Go, Mikhail.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and hello everybody. I'm very pleased to be here with you, and I have basically two parts of my, if I may call it, presentation. One part is about flying, and the other part is about some experience for participants. So I'll start with this. I'll call it a presentation, but it's much more than presentation. It's I call it's pretty personal story. So I'm going to share a pretty personal story with you, and I'll put on some pictures because flying without pictures, I think it's not possible. So hopefully you'll see it. Okay. So this is me in my free time with a glider. And this is me professionally. I was introduced by Renato, so thank you. There is short summary, and I'm proud and honored to be facilitator of the Inner Game Essentials program. And I live in Brno in Czech Republic. Uh, just shortly about gliding, because probably some of you haven't met it before. Simply, we are trying to go around the country, and we are searching for thermals, which are those pillars you see on the picture, which are full of hot air, and we use this hot air as a hot air balloon to get us up with the glider. So this is kind of a sport, and we are aiming to go cross-country flights around the country. And of course, the best way is to get back to the original airport. So this is the main task. Just shortly introducing what is it about. What is it about technically? As I mentioned before, this is pretty personal story because when I was reflecting myself on flying with a glider, I asked myself a few questions, which are here. And I also, because I'm coach, I also was thinking while preparing for this, I was thinking about some questions for you. So I also will be not only I won't be only sharing my feelings and my experience, but I also will be asking some questions to you. Of course, I unfortunately won't listen to your answers, but I hope that I will help you with some kind of inspiration. So, first question, why do I do it? And my wife is sometimes asking me, why do you do it? Are you crazy, risking your life, etc.? But when I asked this question myself, I had to honestly answer that this is resonating with my core values. And some of them I listed here, which is freedom, friendship, responsibility, respect, and love. And just if I take just freedom as the first one, you get, from my point of view, full freedom flying, but it is strictly connected with responsibility. Because if you are not responsible and respectful, it can be very dangerous. But I wanted to share just a glimpse of flying the glider. So I put inside the video, I hope you will see the stream, not only pictures, but it's only 2 minutes. So even if it's not fluent, you can see some pictures, hopefully. So let's go to the video.
Let's take off.
So this is all. And I have questions for you because when I was doing this internal search, internal preparation for this sharing, I asked myself something about my values. So this is for you just to stop for a while, maybe to come back to these questions a bit later. But I think it's quite interesting and important to recheck what are our core values and why do I do what I do, and if this thing I do is resonating with my values, because then it's from my point of view full life. So this is first part of my presentation and some questions. The second part is coming now, and it's about goals. It's about goals, and it was also strange when I started to reflect on these, because when I was starting to thinking about goals, I found out that what I love about flying is that I always feel recharged after the day on the airport. I call it fully flavored life. And when I was exploring more, I was answering, okay, goals. I think that the enjoyment, the experience of the flight is something which is hard to transfer, but it is why I come to the airport. So experience, enjoyment, and of course, what's interesting in my goals and what is important for me is that I learn, that I'm getting better, because what pilots are searching for, I believe, most of them, we are searching for getting better and enjoy more, and of course, get some results because it is a sport. So as every sport, we have some goals. So it's also about results. We measure ourselves, for example, with a distance so we can fly, with a time we can stay in the air. So of course there are results, but the order was in this way. And this is also interesting because if we talk about performance, we very often connect performance with results. Yeah, so results are somehow on the top of this triangle. And it's interesting that results are, and this blue line just shows that results are visible. But what's kind of invisible, or what is behind, and I would call it this inner life, it's about this enjoyment and learning. Yeah, so why I love flying and what are my goals? There are kind of three dimensions. Yeah, of course, I'm interested in results, in getting better. But if I don't get the enjoyment, then I don't have motivation for further results. If I don't have learning, I can't get better results. And of course, also learning and enjoyment are connected and interconnected. Yeah, so this is quite interesting principle. By the way, this is the inner game principle. We call it PLE triangle. I just exchanged performance for results because for me, results are kind of output of the performance. So these three dimensions of results are important for me. And I also have a few questions for you. This is just a summary about the performance. That performance, I hope, should be understood more not as a results, but as a capacity to perform, and capacity to perform in a long-term perspective. And this capacity is influenced by these three interconnected aspects, which I mentioned before. And the question or questions for you, if you consider one of your roles or activities, what are your goals? And it's quite short and interesting exercise. You can do it now, you can do it later. If just put few of them on a piece of paper, yeah? And it's interesting to look what's coming first. If it is a results part, a learning part, or enjoyment part, it can be interesting. A small, really small, self-coaching. And also the last question: which part do you invest most of your time and effort? Yeah, so a few questions for you. And I was asking myself too. It was quite interesting reflection. And the third, basically last part of this first half of my presentation is about success. How successful am I with gliding? And there is a kind of a joke for the beginning because it's also about definition of the success. So it's also interesting question. How do I define success? What is it a success in gliding and in life? Few situations from a glider pilot life. Uh, there are some situations like you will have free day, but there is no flying weather. You have free day, you come to the airport and you came late, so you have no glider available for you. Or you don't have free time. Or you make a bad decision and you outland. You land somewhere in the field like it is on this picture. And the most interesting part of the gliding is that the change of the weather is constant. It's not fixed. You can't plan it. So it's constant change of the weather. Or army decided to train above the country, so they shut the skies, and we have to sit at the airport. But still, I love it. And what's the main point out of here? Uh, it's about change. Yeah, this is interesting, and again, kind of a reflection from gliding. If you remember the picture from the beginning, those pillars of the hot air, so those are thermals. Those thermals are not visible. We can't see them. They last 10 to 50 minutes. Some may last longer, some less. And they are not always in a direction you want to fly. Basically, I would say they are always in a different direction when you, or a different direction instead of your way of flying. What to do? It's interesting because really you are in the air, you have your glider, and you have some aims or you have some goals to get some point to fly to some another airport, another point. But these things are happening. What is helping uh, are these three things, and it helps pilots, and I believe it helps in our lives. It helps anytime because if you keep awareness and if you, I would even call it, if you stop planning in the air, because the plan was done before, now you are in the air, and you should be concentrating on this precious moment to be fully aware what's around you, how is your glider, how are you, because even in this position, if you are fully aware, you can make clear and good choices, good decisions. And of course, you need self-trust, and you need also the trust into the glider. And sometimes it is the hope that the nature will be nice for you. But the awareness is the most important thing, because, for example, clouds are changing every minute. So if you are forgetting about looking around and watching clouds, then you can be very badly surprised that you want to fly this direction and you didn't notice that the cloud is not there. Yeah, but if there is no cloud, probably there is no thermal, and then you are outlanding. You have to sit at the nearest field. So these three things helps very much. And within this title, "Life is a Change, Change is a Life," there is another insight I got while gliding. Yeah, because I was playing with the idea that it would be opposite, meaning what if thermals would be visible? What if I could see thermals? What if thermals would last for the whole day, for example? And how it would like, how it would like if those thermals would be visible and would be there all the day, yeah? So that I could then even go every way I wanted. And this is interesting because I found out that in that moment I would quit flying. Yeah. because there is no life in that situation. Yeah, I would be so bored, and I would basically hate it. So it was another insight for me that even I am in real life out of the glider, I'm sometimes quite embarrassed and sometimes in stress with the change, but still this is the life which I like, yeah, where I can get learning, get enjoyment, and also get results. So this is the last portion of questions for you. For example, as I was joking before, if we are talking about success, how do you personally define success? What is it for you in this specific role or activity? And how do you perceive change? What if you hear the word change? What does it do to you? Another question is, are you ready not to fly today? This is an interesting question, by the way, because if you are like me, I love flying, so I'm looking forward to be flying tomorrow morning, for example. So I'm planning everything. I'm preparing my glider. I'm thinking, okay, tomorrow morning I'm waking up 6 o'clock. I will be exercising and coming to the airport. But it may happen that I noticed something small on the airplane. I noticed something has changed in the weather. I noticed something has changed in myself, either physically or mentally. And this is also, I would call it a wise decision not to fly, which is really, really painful decision because you are so looking forward, so looking forward to fly. But even though it is important because of the safety, because of the responsibility and other values I mentioned, or friend will come to you and say to you, I need help. Please, can you cancel your flight and help me with my glider? I need some repair, and I need your help. So it's about change also. Are you ready not to fly today, not to do what you are looking forward to do? And of course, self-belief. How much do you believe in yourself? This is something which is enhancing uh, and increasing success in gliding and also in life, I believe. So those are last questions I have in this part. And this is also interesting reflection I found out when I was kind of reflecting gliding, that the biggest success is to get back to the home airport, which is funny because somebody could tell you, well, this is crazy. You just go out and go back, and this is all. But if you imagine what's around and what is between the first point and the second point, but we are going in circles. Yeah? Even in thermals, we are going in circles to go up. So it is interesting also reflection for life, because sometimes I get frustrated that I'm moving in a circle. But if I compare it to the flying in the glider, it's basically what I love. Yeah. So going in circles can be quite helpful. Even better if it's spiral going up. So this is all for the first part. Uh, And this is questions and answers. If there are any, I will stop sharing, and then we can shortly discuss, and then I will continue to the other part, which is more experience for you. It's a potential scan self-coaching tool. But before I go there, I stop sharing here, and we can discuss if there are any questions.
Okay, people can put the questions here in Q&A. Mikhail, thank you for this first part. Some people are saying that your analogy with the gliding was amazing. You have also here one question from Eitan. What what your strategy to get inside the Zoom while you are flying?
I wouldn't call it strategy, but I would say that getting in the zone is exactly connected with this awareness. And what helps me, uh, what I learned during flying, is that even you have big plan for, let's say, the whole day, you want to fly the whole day, then you have to chunk it into really small parts. Like, okay, next minute I'm going to concentrate on this area, and I'm going to concentrate on clouds here in this area, not 100 kilometers from here. And I can't create the future. I can't be afraid of the future to say, oh, and how about if there are no clouds 100 kilometers from here? But I'm not there. Yeah, so what's helping me very much is to be concentrated on this precious moment, and I'm calling it chunks, like 1 2 minutes chunks. Yeah, for this minute I have to concentrate what's going on around. So this is helping me very much to stay in the zone.
Mhm. Ana de la Torre has a question for you. She said, I would say is not flying in circles, is flying helically. There is always change and growing. Would you agree?
Yes, I would agree. Definitely. Definitely. Sometimes it's a spiral up. Sometimes what I didn't mention that when there are these thermals, it's updraft, but the hot air is finishing at the top and falling down as the cold air. So there are also downdrafts. Yeah? So it's also interesting with gliding that you can hit the thermal going up, but you move a bit further and there is a downdraft which gets you down. Yeah? So it's also interesting.
I have also one point here from Dimitrios Soukeras. Um, he, let me see. Thank you, Captain Ondrasek. It seems, oops, I lost the question here. Uh, he's talking about, he remembers the Sunny, he mentioned the Sunny pilot in US that did that landing on the river.
I see. Yes. So, yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah. Lavina also saying fantastic, thank you. Mark Bowles, this fly metaphor is a great coaching tool. Marco Guerra also, in an ever-changing and unpredictable environment of thermals, how do you know what direction to go? And what kind of inspirations you draw from to remain confident that you make it home?
It's funny because when you leave the home airport, you always have to decide land anywhere on the way. Yeah, because I don't know if will be able to make it back home. Yeah, but this is the, let's say, the highest target. But to get the courage to leave the home airfield, you have to be decisive and say, okay, I'm flying out, and it may happen that I make some bad decision and I will have to land at any field which is around me, just let's say 50 kilometers from the home airfield. It may happen, but this is the decision. Okay, I go. Yeah, I go and I take this.
Yeah, Mark's question, like working with others, you just described the feeling. How do you use this in your work as a coaching, in
Yeah,
coaching performance work?
yeah. Sometimes also this metaphor helps me as a coach, but I would say that I think this empathy and this willingness to reflect myself, this willingness and uh, openness. Uh, I believe when I am willing to open myself, my heart, I believe that the connection can be made much quicker and much better. So if I see that my client is not very open, I start be opening. and helping him or her to open. So it's it's sometimes quite difficult because it may not look like, but I'm kind of an introvert person. So yeah, it's a bit more difficult than for extroverts, I think, to open ourselves. Yeah, but it helps. It helps to be kind of a transparent or kind of vulnerable, I can say, to be willing to open ourselves.
There is a question here from Dangel. Sometimes you are too much in pressure to get the result. How can you enjoy in such situations?
I learned, and I can't say that I am good at it. Yeah, but I learned on the way with flying that if you concentrate more on learning and enjoyment instead of results, then results are coming. I if I may say it like small miracles. Yeah? That if you concentrate yourself on current moment, on enjoyment of current moment, and on learning side, I think the learning side is very powerful because within this flying, you always can become better because you can every thermal needs a very good circling. Yeah, so you have to be very precious with circling your airplane in the thermal, and you can get better and better every moment. So this learning part is always helping me to not to be stressed with results. Yeah, because as I'm saying, I'm not perfect in that, but it's what I love on flying, and it's what I'm trying to transfer to the life or to the other tasks or goals I'm planning for myself. So I would say that this result part is really powerful, but this is the only one part of the triangle I mentioned, and this is important. And I think this is Tim's great message. Yeah, this is the only one part out of three. Yeah, and I even would say that the basic of this triangle is built on learning and enjoyment. Yeah, and the results are kind of outcomes which are coming out of these. Yeah, I'm working with sports trainers, for example, sports instructors sometimes, and this is interesting how they perceive training. Yeah, because there is a training and there is a tournament, and those are two different parts. Yeah, and this is important to distinguish. That we have times in our lives when we concentrate on learning, and then and even worse, I would say, many hours of training of flying may bring some results, may not bring, but may bring. So
Yeah,
this is difficult.
yeah. This is our last question of this part.
Hmm.
But I want to say to everybody that Mikau is in our group in Slack and very open to answer all these questions and other questions in the Slack channel. But the
Yes.
last question is, Mikau, can you share with us what was your scariest landing?
Scariest landing. I think this was the first outlanding because gliders has to land sometimes outside of the airport, yeah, outside of the airfield. So my first my first outlanding, let's say flying, and I had I had to decide to land on the normal field, I think with potatoes or something like that. So you have to land on that. So it was scary, but it was scary because it was my first one. Yeah, so this is kind of a new experience, but thanks to good training before with the instructors and repetition of these situations helped me to overcome. And again, this concentration on the short parts of the time. On pilots have this advantage of checklists. Yeah, because it's good that you have some checklist what to do if something's happening. Of course, I don't read it in the small glider, but I have it memorized it, and if you just tick off those small steps, it helps to decrease the fear. Yeah, so it was the most scariest landing, the first one, first outlanding landing. Yeah.
Thank you, Mikhail. Can you go to the second part? The second
Yes,
part is I invited Mikhail to do it to interact with people and very connected with the first part. And we're
yes,
talking about results, learning, enjoyment, and the second part I think is to connect both subjects.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so it is here. I hope you can hear, you can see it. Uh, this is experience for you, and this is something I uh, I got inspired. I mentioned it with this PLE triangle uh, developed by Tim, and I call this self-coaching tool because this is the self-coaching tool I call potential scan. This self-coaching tool I will show you in next slide, but it will be very helpful, and I hope it will be also interesting if you will participate with your opinions. So I just put here also instructions for you. This system is using Menti.com. So if you put uh, your phone camera on the code, it will connect you to the site where you can vote during my presentation, or you can go to the web page, which is www.menti.com, and you enter the code 685889. Yeah. So either with this code or just with this QR code, you can connect to this voting system, and you can vote during my presentation. Okay, so uh, potential scan. I use this triangle, and I use this triangle quite a long time with my clients because I found out that it helps them to really reflect themselves. So I use this triangle with a piece of paper, and I put inside the triangle just three axes 1 to 10, and now you can play with me, and you can participate in this voting system, because you can imagine any role or activity in your life, and you can rate the current level. I would underline this one more: current. Yeah, current level, just for this moment, level of your satisfaction in those three dimensions. Yeah. So if you take the scale 1 to 10 and you imagine any role or activity, like I could take my glider flying, or I could take my coaching, or I could take my golf, doesn't matter. Yeah, if you pick one specific role or activity from your life, you can go through this experience with me. Yeah, so now simply you can vote. Yeah, if you imagine you can participate in this quick research. We can ask everybody, and I hope that you can participate. You just imagine any role or activity. It doesn't matter. It's your personal. We won't see which activity you are reflecting, but we will see kind of a global average. So let's join. We have 15, 16. Okay, I'll give a minute just to everybody can participate. Yeah, so you are imagining your own role or activity, and you are reflecting uh, your current level of satisfaction, yeah, with results, with enjoyment, and with learning. Still running, 65, 68. So now the average is somewhere around 6.4 for results, 7.2 for enjoyment, 7.7 for learning. Okay, I would be surprised if inner game conference participants wouldn't be in learning zone. So it seems that yes, some areas in results. Okay, I think it's quite good. 97 responses. Thank you very much. And you can still vote, but I just wanted to give you some more comments on that. I hope that you will see my arrow. Renato, can you note on me if you see this moving arrow?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So
Yes.
if you take any of these three axes and you see the point, yeah, where we finished. So let's say results 6.4. Now it's not very important how much is it, but what is interesting on that is that there is a part which is blue and there is a part which is white. Yeah. And what I do next with my clients, and as I mentioned, this is self-coaching tool, so you can anytime stop yourself and you can draw this triangle on the piece of paper and you can reflect with yourself on or if you are coaches, you can also reflect with your client. And what I am doing next step with this triangle is, okay, 6.4, but in this blue zone, there are things which helps you, which helps you to get, let's say, at least 6.4. Yeah. So you can make some small list thinking about this specific role or activity. What is helping me in this specific role or activity in getting results? Yeah. Then you can ask yourself the same question in the enjoyment axis. Yeah. So we can take enjoyment, and again you can ask yourself, okay, what is helping me getting enjoyment in this specific role or activity? And again, you can make small list of these helpers. And the third, the same question within learning axis, what helps me? What helps me to get learning in this specific role or activity? Yeah. And then we have another three questions, which are, I would call them obstacles or barriers. And those are those white parts. Yeah. So again, the question is, okay, it's 6.5 in results. What blocks you to get more? What are obstacles or barriers to get more in results level of satisfaction? And you can make small list of blocks or barriers. And again, you can repeat it with enjoyment. What blocks my enjoyment? What blocks my enjoyment within this role or activity? And I can make short list. And the third question, what is blocking me in learning in this specific role or activity? Yeah. So this is basic principle of this potential scan of this self-coaching tool. Uh, I will continue a bit further with another voting, another participation and experience. But before I go there, I just want to explain that I will move to just one axis, and I picked an enjoyment, and I will be interested in this part, in this white part. Yeah. And even more, I've decided, not democratically, I've decided before the presentation, I've decided that we are going to talk about work. Yeah. So now my question is, if we are talking about work, what is your biggest obstacle to get more enjoyment in your work? And again, you can participate. There are up to 5 words you would name as the biggest obstacle to get more enjoyment in your work. So before we had something like 100 voices. Now I know it's a bit more reflection, so I give you some time. Hmm, too many tasks. Thank you for that. And this is quite nice tool, which is called Word Cloud. So it also works with statistics. So if there are some words repeating, then the word is bigger. Yeah, so we can do even some small and quick research. What is the obstacle of enjoyment at work?
Interesting. Interesting. Do you want to add a word? Oh, it is so cool. And I bet you the size of the words mean that's how many more people wrote that word. Super cool. Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you, Barbara.
No, I'm sorry. It was.
I lost your sound. I lost your sound. Tim switched off the microphone. Okay, it looks interesting. We have stress, we have time, we have pressure. '83 participants. Thank you. Money, stress, pressure, expectations, results, lack of focus. Interesting. Stress, time, pressure, expectations, money, results are still in the center. Okay. We can still participate, but I think it's quite interesting. Maybe not so surprise, not so big surprise, but there are some interesting things. Yeah. Okay, I will share results with you later because I can download it, so it will be on the Slack channel. Thank you. Thank you for participation. Remember your voice, remember what you wrote down, because now I give you a bit more um, help with these obstacles, uh, how to work, how to face them. Yeah. What's interesting and important to think about is that obstacles are external or internal. Basically, you can put them on two parts or on two sorts. Yeah. And something I am not influencing, I'm not controlling, like weather in my flying, or something internal, which is, for example, how much I prepared my glider, how much I trained my skills, etc. So there are things I can't control, and there are things I can control. Yeah, and it's good to divide them and think about it. And I, within my coaching, I will always recommend to concentrate on these internal things, on things which I can control, and this is basically these 4 steps what you can do if you want change, because it's important to mention, if we go back to this triangle and you remember those numbers like 6.5, 7.4, 7.7, the next question should be also, is it okay or do you want to change? Because if you are satisfied with that, there is no change needed. Yeah. But if you went through those questions, you were thinking about what helps me, what blocks me. Now you found out your blocks and you divided them into 2 sorts, external, internal, and you want change, then it's then next step. So you pick the most important one, yeah, in the list, and you ask yourself, what do I want instead of this obstacle? Yeah. What do I want instead of that? Yeah. And now you are coming closer to something which can be called a goal for you. Yeah? And this goal, you can again use self-coaching questions. And John Whitmore was mentioned here. I think most of you will know grow sequence of questions. So you can then self-coach yourself or use external coach using this. Yeah, okay, I found out my internal obstacle. I was thinking about what do I want instead of that obstacle. So I'm kind of describing the goal I would like to get in, and then I can continue with further questions which are described in the grow model. And also you can contact IGI, Inner Game Institute, for more inner game tools, because this is just the only one. Yeah, so this is basically this self-coaching tool, and I will finish just a short summary because I was doing this quite a couple of years with individuals, but I found out also it works very nice. This triangle and this reflection works very nicely also for teams. So I was thinking about the idea to have a tool which would be also for groups, teams, or even for organizations. So now I'm in the position that I asked a friend of mine to program for me a specific tool which I call, as I mentioned, potential scan. And it's not only for individuals, it's mainly meant for groups or whole organizations. And it's basically prepared as a poll. Yeah, it's quick poll with those questions I mentioned before, and it collects all the answers together. And then you are getting some picture of the department of the company or of the whole company, depends on the decision. And this is great point for great starting point for the coaching, for the coaching of the entire organization. And it just bridging me, it just helping me as Stephanie was speaking about change in the organizations, because I believe that this small and quick tool could help managers to get some feedback from people, because what's great about it is that this poll is anonymous. Yeah, so everyone can share his or her view, and it's quick, and it's also I call it democratic tool, because if the participant of the poll is interested in results, when all results are together, everybody will get results. So then the whole company or the whole department have results at hand, and they can talk about it. And I'm hoping, and my first experience is that then the self-coaching starts. Yeah, because when people start think about it and discuss it, the results, then it's interesting, and the coaching starts. So this is basically on almost all. And just quick snapshots of the report, which is coming from this online tool. You'll get one number of the available potential, which is just basically the triangle, the yellow triangle. Yeah, if you see that results, learning, and enjoyment are 7, 4, 6 on this picture, then it's basically you sum these numbers and you divide it by 30, and you get some percentage. So simple, quick tool. And what's the most important part of this tool is that it's getting all the responses together, all those 6 questions I mentioned. Yeah, what helps me and what blocks me. Yeah, so all the answers are together in the summary. So either department or the group or the team or the whole organization has a list of things to work on, but also has a list which are, I call them strong points. Yeah, something you can rely on, something you can build on. Yeah, because all these answers, what helps me, are really strong points of the individual, of the team, or of the whole organization. So it's all. It's all, and I'm again ready to answer questions if there are any. I stop sharing.
Mikhail, some people asked to if you can share again the link. I think we can put the link in the Slack.
Yes.
Okay. And we can put the link and the QR code to you available in Slack. We have one question from Jan. How do you take account of increasing potential in any given situation?
I think that potential is increasing, but probably it's a question for Tim more than for me. But my perspective is that the potential is increasing when I am starting the reflection. When I start the reflection of all those things I mentioned before, what helps me and what blocks me, when I start think about it, it automatically leads to the decreasing of the interferences of these blocks, of these barriers. And of course, it allows potential to grow. Because as with my flying, yeah, if I decrease my fear, for example, I can learn more. So my potential is growing.
I have one question from Yuri. Do you think coaching platforms and this kind of apps will substitute personal one-to-one coaching?
I'm thinking about it because who knows what happens in the future. We were experimenting with artificial intelligence. We were experimenting with some tools which can be very powerful. I still believe that the human touch can't be replaced with the machine. But still, I think I strongly believe, it's my personal point of view, I strongly believe in self-coaching. Yeah? And I believe that people can help themselves using such a tools. Of course, every time I can discuss with somebody and share with somebody, I would say with a human being, it helps me very much. But I believe that these platforms, these tools can really help my self-coaching. And I'm strongly kind of believer in that.
Many people maybe sharing with you that like the simplicity of your presentation, but how was powerful. Then I want to thank you, Mikhail, for your time. Thank you to be with you. Also, Mikhail will be available during the week in our Slack channel. And
Yes.
if you wanted to keep in touch with Mikhail and send the questions to Mikhail, just go direct to Slack and you can reach Mikhail there. It's very important. I want to repeat this because it's very important to you to be in Slack, because in Slack we are talking about all